shines a little bit more at this time of day. I was actually just noticing too. I was on my iPad. I was like, I could use my iPad as like a light source here. If I did like pure white right now, I'm looking through. I was looking at emails.
The emails.
Did you see the thing from Boom Studios about the Keanu Reeves China? I don't remember how to pronounce that name. Milaview, where they're doing the shoot off book to Berserker.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I saw that.
Thought about backing it.
Pretty dope.
Pretty dope indeed.
Pretty dope indeed.
I thought there was another reason why I was looking on stuff on here, but I don't remember. Anyway, put that away.
Yeah, who cares about that?
Yeet. Dun, dun, dun. Move this up here.
Move this over there.
Close out that calendar event for a Teams meeting tomorrow.
Ew. Ew. Ew.
You indeed, right?
Ew. Speaking of books, Joseph.
Go for it.
I had this conversation with someone at work the other day.
Okay.
Just a gut shot like decision. You know, and this isn't like gonna be like your permanent answer. But if you were to, if I was to ask you right now, what are your top 5 favorite books in no particular order, just top 5, not like this is my number 1, this is my number 2, just top 5 books, what would you say?
This is the worst because you know how bad I am at trying to do this type of stuff. I'm trying to remember things off the top of my head.
Same.
Obviously, one of them would have to be a book from The Expanse. So probably the first book from The Expanse series, Leviathan Wakes.
It's a good in everybody.
I'd have to think about which one it is, but one of the books from the Murderbot series, because it is a series that I really do enjoy. I also say I have to think about it because at least the first couple of stories were more novellas. Like, I guess, what would your definition of book be? Would it be like a full novel, or could a novella?
It could be a novella.
Qualify?
Yeah, the only thing I think you can't put in there would be a short story. So novella, novel.
Okay. Let me. I really have to just keep pulling from the from Jurassic. No, I was gonna say Jurassic Park, but no.
See, my gut shot, I actually said Jurassic Park was one of mine because I really do love that book. And thinking about it after the fact, I told these 5, I was like, oh, there's a lot of other books that could be on that list.
See, I was going to say Jurassic Park, but the thing is that because I watched the movie before really reading the book, from what I remember the movie scenes more than the book. Because the book and the movie are very different from each other.
Same as the sequel, if anybody hasn't read The Lost World. The good sequel.
Yeah, Lost World is actually a pretty good sequel. I know, let me think. Because I have to say some sort of, I feel like I'd have to say some sort of Michael Crichton book because I've read pretty much all of his books. So maybe Timeline?
Okay. So Timeline over Jurassic Park?
Yeah.
Probably because you remember Timeline more?
Because I read the book before I actually watched the movie, so I actually remember things more. Like I said, the off the cuff reaction is Jurassic Park, but it's like, no, I'm thinking of the movie more than the book every time I remember Jurassic Park. I'm thinking of also which Tom Clancy book, because again, that's another author where I've read a lot of his books. And I probably think of Patriot Games when I think of Tom Clancy books. So probably Patriot Games. What am I up to now? I have Patriot Games, I have Timeline, I have one of the Murderbot series, I have the Leviathan Wake, so I just need one more. I feel like that has to be taken up by a Stephen King book. Again, one of the authors that I've read most of. So it has to be one of the Gunslinger series. As much as I do like any of his other individual works, I think the Gunslinger is something that speaks more to me of what I enjoy. Oh. So probably the first book then of the Gunslinger series, which is
Well, it's the Dark
the
Tower
the
series.
Dark Tower. Sorry, the Dark Tower series. Yeah,
Gunslinger.
the
is my choice.
Gunslinger Dark Tower series because just the opening line, is so iconic and classic.
And it's a real good book.
And it's a real good book. So there you go. There's my top 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the other day when I had this conversation, mine were, and again, no particular order, but this is how they fell. Was the Shining? I mean, The Stand, because it is my favorite Stephen King book.
Mm-hmm.
Space Team.
Yeah, it's a fantastic series. It's another series that I just have been continually reading.
The first Dexter book, Dexter.
Mm-hmm.
Jurassic Park. And then what was the fifth one? Oh man, what was it? I forgot what it was now. I should have written these down because I wanted to talk to you about them and I forgot. The fuck did I say the fifth one was? Oh, it doesn't matter now. But then afterwards I was like, oh man, there's like so many really good books. And I was like, and I thought like the Expanse books, I was like, shit, I forgot I didn't mention any of those. I was like,
yeah, there's so much. Like if I were to go back through my Amazon digital library, I'd be like, oh fuck, I totally forgot about that book, and that was a great book too. Yeah. I'm sure there would be.
Yeah, so I was going through them, I was like, dang man, like, are those my top 5? I mean, definitely like, I think they're like that top 5 is good, right? Or whatever. I can't remember the fifth one.
It's solid, yeah.
But like, it's also like I was thinking about. I was like, that's more like, I think those are books I would more recommend to people to read than it is like truly my top 5. But then I was like, I do love all those books, which is funny to say because I can't remember what the fifth one was now. But and I was like, man, I really like those are like books I would like recommend people to read too, which is obviously like your favorite, like that's why you have their favorites. But I was like, man, like wonder if there's other books like that would fall in there because I thought about it, I was like, man, I really like the Dark Tower books.
I mean, hell, we didn't even mention Game of Thrones. Like,
Yeah.
I know both of us have read through Game of Thrones.
Yeah, so I was like, man, like, and that's the same thing as like I was like we were talking about it. I was like, damn, the Game of Thrones stuff too, and like whatever. And I was like, blah blah blah. But I was thinking, I was like, man, there's like, I don't think it's fair to say just a book though, because like you say like Gunslinger, right, or like Leviathan Wakes, and there's from a series, right? But like I have a hard time picking one of those. I would say like the Dark Tower books.
Yes.
Would be like, that's in my top 5, but like which one? Like
Yeah, they're a continuing story, right? So it's all one. They just happen to split it up into multiple parts.
yeah, it's like a collection of stories, but like one story. And then the thing is but that's like in like the Dexter books. I have enjoyed them all. They're not all really good. So like I couldn't say the Dexter series. Like a couple of those are good books. Some of them were blah. Like good, but like not like, oh, you should have to read these. Same thing. Like the Game of Thrones. Like I can't tell you if I could choose one of those books. Mainly in my brain because they're all kind of mashed into one thing.
Seriously, yeah.
Like same
the way they're written too is because they're written for each individual person is like a chapter. So it's like trying to remember like, oh, this was from this book. I honestly couldn't really remember. I could maybe remember like overarching things that happened, like big things. Yeah. But small little things I couldn't remember at all.
It did also get into discussion of Game of Thrones because the guy I was talking to, Alan, has watched the show but he's never read the books. Which got me on that fucking book nerd thing. Was like, oh, the difference is, but not like saying the show is blah blah blah, right? But I was like, the difference is like in the books because of the fact that like there are characters that exist in the books that don't exist in the show, or some characters are like things that one character does in the book is given to another character that's also in the book but is in the show and that other character's not. But then they like skip over all these major characters, like Stoneheart, for example, Like she's not brought back at all,
No.
and she's a very pivotal point in parts of the books. Well, one book because she hasn't really appeared yet again because we're not
Right.
finished with them yet. But the things like that, like you get like the in the book they have the revelation of Jon Snow's actual parentage, and they touched on it in the show, right? Like, but like in the book, it's to me, it's a way better way of doing it. But also like in the book, the one thing I was telling Alan about, I was like, the one thing I do miss about like they kind of skip over in the book or in the show, and I think I know why, because like time wise and technology is seeing when Baratheon and Stark took down the throne for Baratheon, and the fact that like Stark was actually the one that technically should have taken the throne, but he gave it to his friend. But like how badass Baratheon was, and like how vicious he was, like caving in dudes' chests with his warhammer and shit. Like that shit's gnarly. We didn't really get to see him. Because in the show, you're told about all these things he did, but you don't really get to like witness them or whatever. And so you kind of keep him as like this kind of fucking drunkard buffoon that likes to fuck anything with a hole in it.
Yeah, right.
But like in truth, he's like this crazy dynamic character that you don't really get to experience as much in the show as you do in the book. And I was going on this weird rant like that, and he's like, dang. And I was like, yeah. And that's just like one little tidbit. Like there's a whole thing of like Jaime's character arc in the book is so much different in how much shit he goes through and than he is in the show. In the show, he's a tremendous story arc, right? But like him and Tyrion have like this weird like juxtaposition of character in the you know, like everyone's like underestimating Tyrion, and like everyone just fucking like loathes Jaime because he's like the favorite or whatever, but really like Jaime's this like fucking just shell of a human being who like doesn't know like right from wrong because he's never had a chance, and Tyrion wants nothing to be but like be like his brother. You know, weird things like that. Like you don't get as much in the show as you do in the book. And also the fact that the book is like Tyrion's not like a normal looking short person. He is very bizarre looking.
Yeah.
Like one bigger foot and shit like that. So little things like that was like, you know, I was like, oh, then I was like, man, I really like the Game of Thrones book. I was like, what could I pick one? No. But then I was like, then afterwards again, I was like in my brain, like that, like post conversation, like man, but what about the Expanse books? Or what about like anything from like John Scalzi, like any of those ones? I didn't bring like I didn't mention Red Shirts. I didn't mention fucking any of those. And I was like, Old Man's War, none of them. I was like, dang, like I didn't do a very good job. And then I was like, you know what? That's not my fault because Alan said top 5, and I was like under pressure, and I was like, I gotta figure this out, and I didn't do a very good job, I think.
No, and even like I'm thinking of like the Dresden Files. I've read a few of those books, which are really good books. Yeah.
And I was like,
No,
oh, that's a
we're to
shitty
really
question.
get a much better answer. I really have to sit there and sift through all like hundreds of books that I've read over the past few years
Right? Like it was
to
like
give
I was
you a
like,
much
oh,
better answer.
because I guarantee you I go back to that list, and I didn't go back to the list. But if I went back to the list and I saw some, I'd be like, oh, I didn't even mention this, or this.
Right.
Maybe Jurassic Park isn't on that list.
Right.
You know,
Which
like
would be weird
yeah,
because it's such an iconic story.
yeah. And that's the thing too is like I was I was talking. I was like, the thing is, I was like, I predicated this. I was like, I don't want to sound like a fucking book nerd and like, oh, books are better or whatever, right? But it's like there's certain books you could definitely do as a movie with no problem. But then there's other books that are like super dense that like would lend themselves better to like a TV show or a miniseries or something long form that's not like a movie. And it's like, but like obviously there's a reason like stories resonate with people and they want to tell those stories in like a visual way. And obviously it's easier to make a movie than it is a TV show for long term because of like, you know, you have to tie these people down for multiple years if it does well, hopefully, if it does well. You know, and that's the kind of shitty thing too is like, you know, I do want to see like a Dark Tower series, right?
Right.
But if you're going to do that and you're going to do the whole thing That's a lot. Like you
It
could
is a lot.
probably get away with doing like the Wolves of Kala as a movie, right?
Mhm.
Like a good 2.5 hour movie could probably sum up majority of that because there's a lot of exposition. But then like also you would lose a lot of the stuff that like because you wouldn't would you step into the whole like Salem's Lot flashback stuff,
Right.
you know, and like little things like that, and it's like oh maybe you couldn't do a movie that way. You could do like well unless you like did a Salem's Lot, which I know they're doing a Salem's Lot movie, which I think we're supposed to get this year, by the way, on
I believe
HBO.
it is later this year. Yeah.
I think it's HBO. I think they're putting on HBO. I think it might be going theaters too. Or no, that's right. I did read an article. I don't know if I shared this with you. So apparently, it's being put on Max here in the United States, but in Ireland and one other country, they're getting it in theaters.
I. Wow.
I was like,
Okay. I mean, obviously, it just has to do with rights and everything.
yeah, but I was like, but why though? Like, why don't we get it in theaters?
Like I said, they probably when it got written up, they were just like, okay, this is going to be an HBO thing, but for the rest of the world, we don't really have streaming rights already written out, so let's release it where we can in theaters.
Dumb, stupid.
Yeah,
Someone
I
should
agree.
be punching their big toe on their left foot for that.
Right.
Not like a severe punishment, but like it's inconvenient for sure.
Definitely. It hurts for a little while.
I'm talking like right on the like the edge of the toe, you know, right where the like, the toenail meets the foot. I want
Oh,
the
I gotcha.
knuckle right on that, dude. So you're like,
Right on
oh,
there.
son of a bitch. So every time you step, you're like, ah, damn it, that's my punishment.
Punishment.
Or, if we're gonna go that way, roaming hangnails. So every other day you have a different hangnail.
No.
Yep, that's the punishment they get.
That's pretty awful punishment.
Right? Well, be better.
Fair enough.
Be better.
Fair enough.
Um, I don't think I really had anything that was worth talking about this week. Let me see if I look at my history.
Yeah, I didn't really save anything this week. I have some stuff from previous weeks that I have to kind of re-remember, but one of them here is Lord of the Rings: The War of Roar.
Yeah, that's the word. Yep, that's a word.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they were doing it. This is the was this the anime?
Yeah, there's the animation one.
Yeah, this is the anime one, explaining basically what happened to the. This was like 2 weeks ago that I saved this. What was it? This was what because at a point in the movie and in the books, you meet the riders of Rohirrim, Rohan.
Roham. Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's the guys with Butcher as the lead guy, if I recall right. But yeah, this is supposed to be an anime series explaining like what that war was, why they now, I think, what is it? Because they just start roaming the lands after this war happens.
Yeah, it's basically kind of like traveling lawmen in a way,
Mm-hmm.
like brutal, but like still just if I'm not mistaken. Like they're still honorable men, but they're like kind of like, hey, like our word is kind of like
Yeah.
that's it, brother. Like get another. There's no appeals in this court. You know what I mean?
No. Andy Serkis will be reprising his role as Gollum, which is pretty cool. I don't think it said much else of who was going to be really in this thing here.
Okay.
Just reading. Brian Cox will be the voice of King Rohan.
Oh,
Gaia Weiss is the Princess Hera. Anyway, it'll be out December 13th in America and December 11th internationally. I'm trying to find where it's going to be released. I can't remember where.
it's Prime Video, right? I thought.
Was it Prime Video?
I think so.
Oh, I guess that would make sense.
Yeah, I think it's Prime Video. I could be wrong, but I think that's where I saw it being released at or whatever.
I hate doesn't really outrightly say here.
Yeah, you're stupid, article person.
Anyway,
You too should get a punishment.
so I thought that was cool. I didn't realize that was coming out.
Yeah. Um.
Basically, just like The Boys we talked about before, will be ending at season 5.
Yeah.
Uh, there's another contender in the handheld gaming scene from Zotac.
Oh, I saw something about that. I didn't read it. I forgot to go back. I think I saw it on CNET or IGN. I can't remember where I saw something about it. I meant
This
to go
one I
look
thought
at
was
it.
kind of cool, but at the same time, kind of doesn't make sense to me. Sony's about to, will launch in August the adapter for their PSVR 2 to be able to work with your PC, which sounds pretty cool because it's actually one of the best VR helmets for fairly cheap,
Fairly cheap, yeah.
But a lot of the stuff that it does, what I don't get is, let's see. Yeah, so PSVR 2 was designed from the ground up specifically for PS5. So you'll notice that some key features like HDR, headset feedback, eye tracking, adaptive triggers, and haptic feedback, other than Rumble, are not available when playing PC. However, other high fidelity and sensory immersion features of PSVR 2 are supported. So you'll get 4K visuals, which is 2000 by 2040 per eye, 110-degree field of view, finger touch detection, and see-through view, as well as foveated rendering. However, it won't have eye tracking along with it, and 3D audio and supported games. But it's like, man, why are some of these things like so specific to only be available if you played on the PlayStation?
So the hardware must run it on there. It's like the old the first Quest. Was it the Quest? You had to run their software for it to have a lot of the features.
Yeah.
But then when they went to the Quest 2, then you could use it. Had all of that. It still obviously ran on your computer because it's the headset doesn't do everything right. It's still done, but it's not. You don't have to run. You could run it with like Steam and stuff like that. You didn't have to run it with just their own software. But I wonder if it's like obviously the acceleration is done by the PS5 hardware.
I guess it's just weird to me. Like for me, this would almost be a pretty decent buy if I were to get into VR games. Like I said, because it's a pretty good. It's 4K visuals. For like what, $500-$600,
Yeah.
which is to me, and I haven't really like sat there and researched all VR headsets or whatever. Is one of the cheaper options for VR headsets out there. Like I said, especially for 4K visuals. But one thing that gets me, that makes it not really worth it, is that you don't get the eye tracking with foveated rendering. Or just a refresher for those who don't know what foveated rendering is. So, what it does is it basically will only render in sharp detail what you're looking at right in front of you, but everything within your periphery, which is doesn't have to be fully rendered. So it can be kind of a lower resolution outside of what you're seeing, because like in real life, when I'm looking forward, everything to just around my periphery is kind of fuzzy, but I don't really need to know what that detail is. I just need to know that there's something there. But when you lose the eye tracking point of it, now you're locked into just that one field of view. So you have to really more like tilt your head around in order to look at things. But with the eye tracking software, what it did is that you could look up in different directions, and it changed that foveated rendering based on where you're looking at. So it's just weird to me that you can't do that. That for some reason that those two things are, that because you can't do eye tracking unless you have PS5, which I would think would have been a hardware thing, you can't do then the foveated rendering that adjusts around with you. So that's kind of a deal breaker for me. I don't know.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it does suck that a lot of that stuff is, not hardware based, right? Like,
Yeah, even though I would have assumed that it would have been hardware based.
yeah, which basically means me to think that that headset is just literally a headset.
Which kind of would explain a little bit of why it is cheaper than most headsets.
Because if you're, the bulk of it is running on the PlayStation hardware and not have to worry about putting on the headset, then the headset is literally just a visual thing.
Yeah, with some sensors.
Yeah.
That's basically all I had. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see what else is in here we can talk about. Oh, actually, nope. Did you watch that Deadpool thing I sent the other day?
That Deadpool thing that you sent.
It was like a 1 minute thing. It was like a teaser saying, "Hey, like tickets are available. This is our final thing we're putting out or something."
I'd have to look. There's been a few things that you've sent that I haven't really watched live,
How dare you?
but I've ended up seeing later,
Just because I'm ahead of the game.
or just because you text it out when I'm at work or doing other stuff. Like I
Joe, I am more important than work.
Deadpool and Wolverine, nice in theaters.
Oh yeah, that's the one. It shows a close up of Sabretooth, but also there's a real short spot where they show an Avengers flag that has an Anarchy symbol written over it, which is the Anarchy Avengers, which I thought was a pretty cool little tip. I did not notice it myself. I saw a video on YouTube talking about it, which I did not watch because I can't stand that. I'm not going to mention who they are that brought it up, but they're a bunch of nerds that I don't agree with most of their opinions, but they are very they pour through these trailers like hardcore to find the littlest details. And then usually the reason I don't like them as much is because their opinions are usually not very good, but also they end up being wrong all the time, so it's kind of a waste of time watching their videos. But it was in their thumbnail, so I was like, oh, thank you for pointing that out.
Okay, I'm at the point where he's pulling out all the knives
Yeah.
from Wolverine.
Yeah, that
That's
shit's
funny.
hilarious. I was like, yeah, that's awesome. He's stuck full of them.
Oh my god. Who is playing Sabretooth? Who is that?
I think it's Tyler Bane. Still again.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's over.
It's not.
Yeah, that was,
It's
that was
not
cool. There was a lot
Levine.
of scenes that I've seen before towards the beginning there, but
Yeah. That little bit with them. And then so the other one is did you probably didn't watch it, but there's the Robert Zemeckis movie with Tom Hanks where they de-age him called Here.
no, I saw a still from it. I think
Yeah, it's pretty good.
because it wasn't just him; it was somebody else they de-aged as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, Robin Wright is in it. Plays his love interest.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what the movie was. I never read into it. It's weird. It's hard. I don't know if it's hard to explain. Let's see if I can try. It's a single camera movie. So the camera, or a single camera shot movie. The camera never leaves the same shot. It's literally, the movie is a timeline of that particular space on Earth,
Interesting.
which just happens to be the home that he grew up in, that he later raises his family in. So you literally see him grow up through the movie. So they use de-aging technology, and you see his family grow up around him. But the camera never leaves the same position, and it's oriented to see, like, the camera faces into what is their living room. So you see all their holidays and all their life playing out through that one camera shot of there. But the trailer starts in fucking like dinosaur times, in that exact same position.
Okay, and then
Dude.
what? It just speeds up, and you just slowly see the
Yeah, so
area
basically,
around
like,
it develop.
yeah, you have to watch it. It's fucking wild, dude. Like, I don't know if I'll go see it in theaters because I don't think it looks like a very interesting movie, but it's a very interesting like concept. So like there's another movie that did this, and I can't remember what it was, and I was gonna look it up. But it was like basically like, or was it a show? I can't remember. Basically, it was like it was a camera shot of an interrogation room
Mm-hmm.
that different like they went through with different like interrogations through, but it was always one shot if I'm not mistaken. This is the exact same thing basically, and it's weird because the trailer starts and you get flashes of or little like 2 second 3 seconds clips of different time passing, and at first I didn't understand what it was. I was like, what is happening here? Like there's a caveman.
Oh, it's
and
a
like,
very weird. I'm watching it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and then
It's
once
very
it dawned on
weird.
me what was happening with the family, you realize it's the same room throughout time.
Mm-hmm.
And the trailer jumps back and forth, but like they're telling the story of like them, the first time they meet, the first time like their family, like all it's wild because it's literally one camera shot.
I'm going to say this off the bat. It's unsettling.
It is unsettling, right?
For some reason, that I think it's because it's off axis of what you would normally expect for a camera shot of a normal room would be, which would be you have a room, you have the camera set basically center, and you're capturing everything that you can from there. But this seems to be offset to the left a little bit,
And the
capturing
wall is right there.
over this, and the wall's like right there. So it's something unsettling to
Yeah.
me about that.
And like it's crazy too because if you watch like through the window, shit
Mhm.
changes in the background with time,
Mm-hmm.
and you see people and things in the background, and I was like, this is fucking wild, dude.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, that's very weird.
fucking
I
wild.
like it because it's something I've never seen before. Just one still camera, just sitting there, and let's just go through time. So I like the idea, the art behind it, but yeah, I'll probably never watch it because it's not that type of movie that I would really want to watch necessarily anyway. But like I said, that shot's just unsettling to me. I'm just gonna sit there and think of like Paranormal Activity or something, like something creepy is about to happen. Someone's about to be just yanked out of this room by some unseen force or something.
Yeah, so I was like, man, this is fucking weird, dude. And the de-aging's pretty solid for the most part.
Yeah.
And they do multiple ages of them too. They even do later on when they're older, but I think that's like prosthetics more than de-aging.
Probably.
But yeah, I was like, dang, that's crazy.
That is pretty crazy.
That's crazy. Briefly talked about this before. The Green Lantern show has been greenlit for a series order from Max.
Okay.
And that's the one that's coming from Chris Mundy, Damon Lindelof, and Tom King.
That's cool.
So that's gonna be interesting, and it's gonna be, like this has been a lot. Like there's been a lot of work trying to make a Green Lantern show, like even all the way back to like Greg Berlanti trying to do one.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously like he was real big on the CW with DC shows.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so it's exciting that they actually got a whole season order right away, so they can try to actually functionally write a whole series versus like, hey, let's put like a bunch of this into like one episode, like the pilot, to try to get it lit. They went a little differently they went streaming wise. Like this is how streaming shows really work nowadays, where they're like, hey, let's try to get this, like, let's just show them what we're going to do for at least the first season, if not more.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a oh, here it goes. Lanterns follows, I was going to say that, I don't know if this article has it, but I found it. It says Lanterns follows new recruit John Stewart and Lantern legend Hal Jordan, two intergalactic cops drawn into a dark Earth-based mystery as they investigate a murder in the American homeland. And they're in the American homeland. So, that's kind of like the early pitch of it.
Okay.
So,
Sounds interesting enough.
so it's gonna be like a cop procedural show, but like Green Lantern style, but also like with like space stuff,
Yeah. I'll give it a try.
like a space chair.
Space chair.
I brought it back to Space Team. See that, Joe? Should I do that?
Yes, I did.
Brought it back. Haha. A couple Marky Mark movies. I sent I sent one and Tosh sent the other because I forgot to send the first one, but whatever. Well, let's see. What else did I send this past week? That was last week. Heretic, which looks like a fucking wild ass movie with Hugh Grant in it. That should look fucking gnarly.
Yeah, where he plays the villain.
Is he the villain though, Joe?
I'm pretty sure he's the villain.
You mean kidnapping people and putting them into a fucking hell maze for their religion is a villain role?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
Okay, I don't know. Our definition of villain might differ a little, Joe.
60%.
He's
sure.
trying to save their immortal souls, Joseph.
Like I said, I'm 60% sure.
60% sure you're completely correct. Sorry, my throat is getting dry. I have to get some water. I hate mornings because my voice is always like, blah, blah. My throat's like, blah,
I know.
blah,
It's
blah.
like, should start off with some water to get things greased up and going. But today, coffee.
Yeah, coffee has water in it, Joe. It's like 80% water.
Like, a lot of stuff has water in it.
Actually,
but,
I think it's more than 80%
water is
water.
just, like, much better for you in the mornings.
How much water is in coffee? Is it how much? What's the ratio? Think of like, it's got to be like 90%.
For a standard cup of coffee, you're looking at 6 to 8 ounces of liquid. So I'm sure 99% of that is water.
So 1% is just that dark goodness.
Is straight coffee. Then of course you get into the whole like, what do you add to it? So I add Chobani sweet cream.
Oh,
So it's
sweet
water in there. I don't know how much water is actually in more of a cream.
I wonder if there's an easy way to figure that out.
I'm sure somebody on Reddit has figured it out.
It's probably true. I mean, they may not have the ratios for like every creamer out there, but they probably have a ratio of like what a creamer would have.
Yeah.
Sorry, back on task. I don't remember when I sent you these. The Nosferatu trailer, I think, was before the last time we recorded. They barely show Nosferatu in it, which everyone loved, and I thought was actually pretty clever, but that movie looks fucking wild. The Red One trailer. Did you watch that one with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Chris Captain America Evans, and J.K. fucking Simmons, who is playing
J.K. Yoked Simmons?
Yeah,
you
dude,
mean?
fucking Jesus, dude.
I ended up seeing it as a commercial on
Of
YouTube.
course, yeah. No, don't watch the trailer his friends send you. Just watch his YouTube ads.
Again, there was a lot that went on this past week that
It's fine. I mean, I'm gonna continue sending stuff. I don't care if you watch or not, Joe.
oh no, continue to send the stuff. No, it looked like it could be entertaining.
Yeah.
Going into it, like Red One, what is that? Okay, is this going to be a sequel to Red? Was it Red on Netflix?
Oh yeah, there. Well, no. Well, Red
the one
was
with Gal Gadot and The Rock and
no. Red wasn't Red the fucking
well, there was also the one with
Bruce Willis, right? It was called Red.
Yeah, that was something else though. Well, it was Red something because that had Helen Mirren in it, and they already made 2 movies. They had a first and a second one for that. That was Helen Mirren,
Wasn't it just called Red?
Bruce Willis, John Malkovich, and there was a few other people in that movie. But yeah, that was the first one and the second one. Anyway, so going into it, I had no idea what it was. And then just seeing that that it's actually some weirdo Christmas movie was a bit surprising. The fact that J.K. Simmons plays just a yoked up
Santa Claus.
Santa Claus was like wild as well. And I guess The Rock is just like the head elf or something like that, like the bodyguard elf or something. I still don't really know what the plot of the movie is, besides Santa Claus apparently gets kidnapped.
Oh yeah, dude.
They have to go find him, right?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I paid attention enough to know exactly why even Chris Evans was there as just some normal dude. But I do love me some Chris Evans playing more than just, Captain America or whatnot. I loved him in I was going to say The Onion, but it wasn't The Onion. It was the whatever the first one of the Glass Onion was. What?
The Onion.
Well, not The Onion, obviously. We're not talking about the parody news place, but the one movie series from Netflix that has James Bond as the lead detective in it.
Glass Onion, but you're talking about Knives Out.
Knives Out. Glass Onion was the sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Knives Out. So I might watch it just because it has Chris Evans in it. It looks like a movie that just might be fun to watch, but I don't know.
It's gonna be in theaters, which is wild to me.
That's right. It was going to be in theaters.
Yeah, because it's a Miramax
definitely-
film technically.
Definitely not watching it in theaters. That is not a movie that I'm that excited about to go watch.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna see it in theaters. I know Mike will because it has The Rock in it, and he's got a fucking hard on for The Rock. So,
Right?
Dwayne Johnson. So the Bruce Willis movie is called Red,
Red.
and then the sequel Red 2, which is
Red 2.
obviously, Red 2, Red Harder.
Right.
But then what was the name of that fucking Netflix movie with the heist movie that had The Rock in it? I'm trying
They
to
have
get
The
to
Rock,
this.
Gal Gadot, and Deadpool.
Deadpool. Joe knows people by their character names. Like, he got Gal Gadot right. That's promising.
It's always early. Sometimes I remember what their actual Ryan Reynolds. Sometimes I remember what their actual names are. Sometimes I just remember by what their actor, what their more famous roles are.
Guy from Free Guy. That's the one.
Yeah, right. I said famous roles.
Whoa, man.
I haven't seen Free Guy. Free
Free
Guy.
Guy.
Yeah,
You haven't seen Free Guy?
I haven't seen Free Guy.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm sure it is.
It's hilarious.
I wonder if it's on any streaming right now. It has to be
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
by this point. I mean, that's what, a 2-year-old, 3-year-old movie now.
Yeah, a few years old now. Let's see here. Films.
Free Guy. Where to watch? Oh, Fubo has it.
Red
Swing
Notice.
TV. Fuck yeah.
Red Notice is the
Red
movie
Notice,
with
yeah.
Deadpool, or fucking Black Adam and Wonder Woman in it.
Yeah.
Oh shit, they're all DC stars. Cause he played Green Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit, that's wild. I didn't think about that before. Dang, it's kind of like a Justice League movie with like only one member of the Justice League. I mean,
Right.
technically Green Lantern, but we haven't seen him as like in the Justice League yet in the movies.
Yeah, we don't talk about those movies.
Yeah, we don't bring those up.
In all seriousness, it's on Disney Plus. Free Guy.
Oh, of course it is, because it was on. It was the thing with the stuff. It was a Fox movie,
Yeah.
so it's probably
So
on
you can watch it
Hulu
on
as
Disney
well.
Plus.
But
Yeah. But
I
was
do
about
recommend
to
watching
say
it. It's a
that
fun time. Imagine like Ready Player One, right? But like just the video game half.
Well, it reminds me more or less of a book that I know that I've mentioned on here before. That the name escapes me right now, but it was written by Ben Yahtzee Croshaw from what was the Zero Punctuation, but is
Now called
Fully
Second
Ramblematic.
Wind.
Second Wind series, but Fully Ramblematic is actually what his show is called. But he's actually a pretty decent writer. I've only read 2 of his books. Now, speaking of,
Do you have to
things
read
that
him
I
like
said
he talks?
it helps sometimes. It's pretty fun, pretty funny, and I
Okay.
believe he actually. Oh, now I'd have to look
Is
that
there
up.
fucking audiobooks versions of him?
I think
Oh
there is.
my God.
There is audiobooks versions, and I think I've only because the first book I read, which is the one I'm thinking of right now, and I'll
What
do
the
that
fuck is
right-
his
I'll
name?
talk
Ben
about
what?
right now, real quick. Yahtzee. So like the game Yahtzee. Croshaw. The one book that I do remember the title of is "Will Save the Universe for Food." But the
Different.
first book that I'm talking about, I can't remember the name of it. Again, I've talked about it before. Is somewhat similar. So you have your character that you follow. You find out is just an NPC in a video game. And he suddenly becomes sentient. He suddenly realizes that he's just a non-playable character in a video game. and this is just like an MMO type of game, and it's actually pretty hilarious because at different points in the book he'll talk about like coming into contact with player characters and just how like cardboard and weird they are, and how they just do weird things.
It's Mogworld, right?
Mogworld, that's the name of it. Yeah. Mogworld.
It's actually narrated by him.
Yeah, and I think when I read it, they didn't offer Whispersync, so I only read the book. But Will Save the Universe for Food, I think they did offer Whispersync with that. So I have done that, and I think he does the narration on that one.
He might do all of his own narration.
I'm sure he does all the narration. I mean, why not? He's kind of famous for his voice, so why not just do all your own narration? And
on here it says he has 7 books, but I'm confused.
He has Mogworld. He has.
We'll leave the galaxy for good. We'll destroy the galaxy for cash. We'll save the galaxy for food.
Yeah, that's the first one.
What is this one? So there's another one. He has a series called the DEDA files.
Those ones I haven't read yet.
Oh, there's only 2 of them. Okay, I looked at the wrong one. I thought I was like, it says 7, but this said was book 3, but I looked at the wrong. I think that was the book 3 of the Will. Fuck, what do they call this series? The
Jack, don't know what they call this series.
Jacka McCone, book 1. I guess that's the character from it.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, so he looks like he narrates all 7 of his books.
You might enjoy them, especially the McCone series. It's basically like takes place in the future, where mankind has populated a lot of parts of the known universe, but they got past, like, it's just past that, because you would think of like explorers and whatnot. They had the era of the swashbuckling space adventurer guy, and now this is just after that, where now everything's basically commercialized. And so our main character, who I don't remember the name of his actual name, because he gets hired. He used to be this swashbuckling space adventurer pilot guy, but now that all of that has dried up and everything has basically become commercialized, now he basically is a tour guide on the moon, right? So he's with a bunch of other swashbuckling, swashbuckling space adventurers that now basically, when tourists get to the moon, they're just like, hey, Star Tours here, Star Tours for whatever.
That's
and so they get hired out by families and groups of people to basically take them on space adventures. And so they take them out in their spaceship, and then they get attacked by aliens and whatnot. And basically, he gets hired out by this random woman to play a character named Jack McCone, in order to basically Jack McCone is a writer, a space adventure writer in this series, who's basically stolen other people's adventures and passed them off as his own in these books, and he's made millions of dollars, but no one knows who he is. No one knows who he is at all. So this woman approaches him, and he's like, "Hey, I just need to find someone who's willing to play Jack McCone for some teenager, who's a real big fan of the space adventure stuff. I'll give you a bunch of money as long as you pass yourself off as Jack McCone." And he's like, "Yeah, cool. I love money. I'll do it. Whatever."
I'll do like
and
money.
And then hilarity ensues after that. Yeah.
So there's Mogworld was first, and then I'm not too sure.
I think it was Will Save the Universe for Food, I think was his second book. Beyond that, I don't know. Because I think he did the detective series next. And then
after Mogworld was a book called Jam.
Jam.
Yeah, so it's crazy because it has a fucking spider on it. So I got to figure out what the fuck this is about.
I don't remember that one.
wait, what? Why can I just read this? What the fuck? Oh, limited preview. I was like, what the fuck? This website's wild. I just wanted a description of what it is. But you gave me the first like 5 fucking page. Well, so this is funny. So whatever this website is, Internet Archive. I don't know. That's what a link was from Wikipedia for some reason. Gives you a bunch of pages to like read, but it's like the cover, the blank page, the title page which just says Jam. Then there's like the copyright stuff. Then the other title page that says Jam with Yahtzee Croshaw on there, right? And the Dark Horse books. And then the rest of the copyright stuff. And then like a little thing from him, a little quote, a blank page, and then like 2 pages of story. So they give you like 7 pages to look at. 2 of them are actual stories. Unless you have an account and then you can borrow the book, I guess. I don't know why that was what the link was to go to it. But I wanted to see what the story was because it's on. I'll probably look on Amazon for a better description. Because when you look at, I'm on Audible to see what was on there. And the description summary is this: we are prepared for an earthquake. We had a flood plan in place. We could even have dealt with zombies, probably. But no one expected the end of being quite so sticky or strawberry scented.
So, Wikipedia's synopsis of this book is: the novel centers around a group of survivors in Brisbane, Australia, after the city is covered with carnivorous strawberry jam that eats organic material.
So it's the Blob.
So it sounds like the Blob.
But it's jam.
Why it has a giant spider on it, no idea.
Okay. I mean, spiders like jam, right?
And they're also in Australia. Australia has some gnarly spiders, so...
It's true. Then there was... then after that was We'll Save the Galaxy for Food.
Okay.
And then differently Morphus, which is the first of the detective ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then We'll Destroy the Galaxy for Cash. And then Existentially Challenged, which is the second detective book. And then just this year, We'll Leave the Galaxy for Good came out, which is the third of the McCone stories.
Okay. But anyway, yeah, that's what Free Guy reminded me of.
That's fair.
Is Mogworld.
I actually have Mogworld on my wish list. I haven't read it, though. Maybe I'll get it.
I enjoy the books. I really do.
Because I got some writing. Audible credits burning a hole in my pocket.
Do it.
And I already read the new Stephen King book, so
find something else. I've been having trouble like trying to think of what I would want to read. So I haven't really been reading much lately. Been listening to stuff. I remembered that I was listening to a lot of the Marvel Stitcher stuff a few years ago. So for the past couple weeks, I've been listening to let's see, what was it? Marvels.
The Neil Gaiman one?
Is the Fantastic Four one. The Fantastic Four that
Alex Ross.
Alex Ross did.
Gotcha.
Fantastic read. It's still funny that because at the beginning and the end of every episode, they read off who plays who. And it's like Common plays the detective, whatever, and I'm just like, wow, Common. Okay, like he's a fantastic actor, but it's still funny to hear like he's doing voice work, you know.
Yep.
Even in right now, I just finished Marvel's Wolverine Wastelanders. It's basically a retelling of the Old Man Logan series.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the who wrote that one?
I don't remember off the top of my head. Obviously, they said it at the beginning and end of every episode. Story by blah 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 blah. Fucking T-1000 is the voice of Old Man Logan.
Jason Patrick. Robert Patrick. Jason Patrick is the Lost
voice
Boys.
of Old Man Logan, which is pretty cool.
It's pretty rad.
It's funny because, like I said, it's a retelling of the Old Man Logan story, which the original telling of Old Man Logan was pretty cool and it was a really good story. This is just a little weird about there's so many elements that are there, and there are so many elements that are not there. So I don't know. Like I said, I enjoyed it, but I kind of wish that they would have done the Old Man Logan story
Yeah.
because like Hawkeye's not even in it at all.
How
No
dare
Hawkeye.
you?
There's no Hulk family in it. Did you read? Because this is based off the comic.
No, I never read it because that's in the period where I stopped reading a bunch of that random nonsense.
Yeah. So it's not bad. It takes a whole different story arc. Basically, it still starts off with spoiler alert for people who have not read Old Man Logan or Marvel's Wolverine's Wastelanders. Uh, Logan still kills all of the X-Men.
Spoiler.
Spoiler alert. So it still starts off with that. I think the how it happens is way different too, if I recall right. You can correct me if I'm wrong. In the original, in this version of Old Man Logan, in Wastelanders, basically Red Skull and I'm spacing out the names. Dark King, basically some supernatural force that has telekinetic powers. Basically, the Red Skull and that thing team up. Red Skull is given the powers to basically affect other people's minds. He attacks the school, and he convinces Wolverine that like all the villains basically teamed up to attack the school, and so he's going through and killing all the villains. That's the same, but I don't think it's Red Skull, right?
Stephen DeKnight. God damn it! I knew who it was. That's who wrote it. Sorry.
Yeah. But it's not. Is it not Red Skull and the whatever that dark force is that attacks the school? Isn't it like? Was it like Mysterio and?
I don't know. Hold on.
I can't remember the original Old Man Logan story. That's what I'm saying. Is I think it's slightly different there. But then something happens, and basically it just skips forward about 30 years into the future, and Red Skull's has been president this whole time. Logan still thinks that he was trying to protect the X-Men, but he kind of has no idea what happened in that 30-year time frame. But eventually he ends up back at the school where he meets this girl who turns out to be a mutant. At this point in time, all mutants have basically just been forced into hiding because of Red Skull's extreme racism against mutants. He makes his way with her up to Canada because he remembers about because they find Cerebro in the basement of the school, and they're able to use it to find nearby mutants. There weren't very many, but he found Kitty Pryde up in Canada. So basically, they're going up to Canada to get this girl some more, basically around other mutants, so she can use her powers and learn her powers and whatnot. Obviously, Kitty, and then you also find out that Jean and Scott's daughter is with her as well. And she doesn't like him too much because he killed her parents and whatnot. But from there, they hatch a plan to kill Red Skull. And so they go out and it was a couple of episodes later, they basically go and kill him, which kind of still happens the same in the comic. But yeah, it's kind of disappointing because you miss all those iconic scenes of dealing with the Hulk, inbred Hulk family, and getting blind Hawkeye with you, and all the chase scenes that you have with the motor vehicles, and the dead giant man basically is in there as well. So you do miss all of that. There is a Hawkeye Wastelanders as well.
I just found that there's a Star-Lord one,
yeah,
a Hawkeye one, a Black Widow one, a Wolverine one, obviously, a Doom one, and then a combined one called the Wastelanders.
Yeah. So I have no idea what is and in the rest of those if it doesn't follow the original Old Man Logan story.
Yeah, so it's all sequels after that.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
so they're all sequels after the events of Old Man Logan.
Or Wastelanders. Wolverine Wastelanders.
No, no,
Because
it's
again, it doesn't follow.
so it's called Marvel's Wastelanders Wolverine.
Yeah.
And the other ones are literally Marvel's Wastelanders Star Lord, Marvel's
Right.
Wastelanders, blah blah blah. But it's like originally released as Marvel's Wolverine, Marvel's Wastelanders Old Man Star Lord was the name of that one.
Yeah.
And so in this one, Star Lord and Rocket Raccoon crash land in American Midwest, a barren wasteland controlled by Doctor Doom, where they must find for the Collector an ancient cosmic relic, the Black Vortex. However, they soon encounter a number of challenges, including Kraven the Hunter, outlaw Ghost Riders, and Emma Frost. And basically that's the whole premise. And
Mm-hmm.
the best part about this is it has um the voice cast.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to double check that I was reading these correctly because there's a couple that like
Right.
popped out at me. So Timothy Busfeld, who is the voice of Old Man Star Lord in this, you may not actually know.
No, I don't know the name.
That one didn't like pop out of my fucking brain. I looked it up. I was like, he's been in a lot of stuff. I don't know who this is. When it comes to Rocket Raccoon, on the other hand,
Mm-hmm.
the name Chris Elliott was like, that can't be the same Chris Elliott from Cabin Boy fame. Or Take My Strong Hand. That's him. That's who plays that's who does voices Rocket Raccoon.
That's fantastic.
And then I was looking at this, I was like, all right, who plays Doctor Doom? It's like Dylan Baker, right? Okay, cool, whatever, voice actor guy. Then I was like, wait, this is Danny Glover as Red Crotter.
What?
And I clicked on it, and it's fucking Murtaugh, bro.
That's awesome.
I was like, you shitting me? I was like, that's
It's
fucking
so
rad
weird,
as hell.
like the actors that they got in this. Like I said, Robert Patrick, Old Man Logan. I'm like, the fuck?
Yeah, dude, what the fuck is that?
You know, Common is in the Marvels one. Like, so they're really well done. They're really well done productions because they're full production. You know, sound effects and everything going along with it, and they're free. They're available on the podcast app for Apple, which is, in my opinion, not the greatest way of listening to it because you do have to. At least when I first started listening to this stuff back a few years ago, which was, I don't think they were adapting comic books in the first couple of stories that I listened to, which was Marvel's Wolverine's Night something or other, and then there with the next season of that was I can't remember, but it takes place in New Orleans. I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, but anyway, back then, see the way the podcast app works in Apple Podcasts is it presents you the newest episode first. So it's kind of terrible when you're like, hey, I want to listen from episode 1, that you may be able to listen to episode 1, but then it's the next episode will skip to the newest episode, which could be episode 10.
I missed some stuff.
So it would literally go in reverse. Now, when I came back to it, when I remembered that I was listening to that stuff, and I hit play on episode 1 and listened to episode 1 of Marvels, and then it skipped to something that I was like, this doesn't make sense story-wise, and I realized, it skipped to episode 10, which is the final episode. I realized you can actually reorder that now, but you have to physically say, go from oldest to newest, and so then it'll actually play in chronological order, but you have to actively do that. So it's not exactly the best way to release an audio book in the podcast app, but it's free, and they're all free that you can just listen to on Apple Podcasts. I'm sure you can get them on Google Play Store and whatnot as well. And you could probably still get them on Stitcher. Stitcher audio is where they originally were made, and then after a while they get shuffled over to the other platforms for free. There is ads in them, but whatever.
There's ads in fucking comic books too, so boom.
Yeah. I don't know if it's something that they're still doing. I know they have a bunch of these available for listening, which is really cool. I would highly suggest at least listening to, if you were a fan of Marvel's comic book, at least listening to that. It was really well done. And even if you want to, go ahead and listen to the Wastelander series. It's just, again, it's very well done, and you're so surprised by like how many of like well-known actors are actually doing voice roles in some of these audio shows. But it was still just kind of a little disappointing where it's like, oh yeah, I'm missing this or missing that, or like, that would have been cool to see or, well, hear happen here, at least in the Wastelander series. I saved them all, that I'll eventually go through all of them and listen to them, because I am intrigued about the Star-Lord one, and also about the Hawkeye one. I didn't realize there was a... Or were you really reading off a list of what's been written, or what was available for audio?
Those are the audio ones.
Okay, I didn't realize there was a Black Widow one.
Yeah, Susan Sarandon, by the way.
The fuck?
Yeah, dude. Stephen Lang plays Hawkeye, or voices Hawkeye.
I didn't even look at that. That's fucking awesome.
Dude, I was like, what the fuck, man? There was like actually notable names in these. Not that like
Yeah.
audio books don't have them, but they, again, not a sponsor, but Audible has the Wastelanders on here as well.
So if it's available for free, it might be a much better way of listening
It
to
is
them.
free.
So even I'll look into that and see if it's a much better way of listening to that.
I will say this though: when you hit view all, it's disaster, because you go by oldest to newest, right? Like,
So what is
descending
the
order?
newest according to them? Like, as far as I saw, the Wastelander series kind of was the last series that they may have done in 2022. Is there anything newer than that?
so let's go. Well, let's just swap this to oldest. Oldest one, which again I think makes sense, but also I don't think it makes sense. It says chapter 10, all that you leave behind, but it shows Wolverine.
Hmm.
So I'm not really too sure.
But is that part of the Wastelanders thing then?
It's all Wastelanders. It's just this
Oh,
is Wastelanders
Wastelanders.
Wolverine versus, like, that's what I mean, is like they don't have, it doesn't, it says that's the oldest one,
Mm-hmm.
but according to Wikipedia, which again I'm not gonna say is like the end all be all,
No.
but it doesn't list that as being in order, because according to this, in order, it goes Star-Lord, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Wolverine, Doom, and then Wastelanders.
Huh.
So, not too sure how this works
I mean, I
out.
suppose depending on how the story goes, it kind of makes sense, because killing off Red Skull at the end of Wolverine makes sense then, unless you run the other stories parallel to it. But I can see, like, if not, then maybe chronologically some of those stories take place before that.
Yeah, so I'm like, when you look at them on Wikipedia, they give you the episode lists.
Mm-hmm.
And Wastelanders, again, I'm going by original air date, started in December of 2022. And if you go up to Star-Lord, which I just bypassed because I don't know how to fucking use internet, says the first episode of that was released, well, first two episodes, because they doubled them up, released June 1st of 2021. So, and then Hawkeye was October of 2021. So the order must be Star-Lord, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Wolverine, Doom, and then Wastelanders, according to release dates.
Mm-hmm.
So there might be some stuff that you missed that was mentioned in Wolverine, but I don't know if it's enough because it looks like Wolverine is its own story within this overarching story. And then, because when you go to Wastelanders, it says, with the Wastelands in a state of chaos following President Red Skull's death, Hawkeye, Star-Lord, Black Widow, Wolverine, and Doom team up to stop Valerie Richards, who now has the powers of the Cosmic Cube. So those 5 individual ones lead into a team up on a 6th one.
Okay, and that makes sense for the cover art that they have here.
Yeah, and on Audible, you can get all... It says 86 episodes.
That's interesting.
Is that what it says here?
Well, I'm actually on.
68. 68 episodes.
I'm on Wikipedia again. Wikipedia, not necessarily the end all be all, but it lists 10 episodes per season for everything. So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 episodes for all of that. For all the Wastelander stuff. So I wonder what the extra stuff is.
Looks like
there
it's
is one other
trailers.
So again, there is one other show that was released. It only got 6 episodes, but it's not part of the Wastelanders series, as far as I can tell. It's called Squirrel Girl: The Unbeatable Radio Show.
Hell yeah!
It was only 6 episodes long. So if it's, I don't know if they're including that. I should correct that. So the original 2 that I had listened to, which was Wolverine and Marvels, were done by Marvel, New Media, and Stitcher, where all of the Wastelander stuff was Marvel, New Media, and Sirius XM.
Yeah, that's what I saw here, yeah. In association with Wave Runner Studios. So
it is funny, though, that, because this is a list of radio dramas based on Marvel comic book publications. This thing goes back pretty far. Doctor Strange back in 1967 to 1970. Adventures of the Fantastic Four, 1975. Spider-Man Rock Reflections of a Superhero, also 1975. The Amazing Spider-Man in 1996, which is a BBC Radio 1. And then it goes into the rest of it that we've been talking about.
Yeah, so it says here, just quick facts. The series was originally announced in May of 2021 as 4 10-episode podcasts featuring separately on Star-Lord, Hawkeye, Black Widow, and Wolverine, along with a 5th team-up series. The first series, Marvel Wastelanders Old Man Star-Lord, and then they branched out to make the other 2.
Okay.
Interesting.
Anyway, like I said, they're really well done, and if you have nothing else to do, they're only like 30 minutes per episode, if I recall right, too. So if you have just some time just to kill, and you want to at least have a well-read story to you by some fantastic actors, I would highly suggest going through some of those and reading them, or listening to them, I should say.
And they are free on Audible as podcasts, which I mean they're probably free in general.
Yeah.
But that's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's
what
it.
I've been listening to lately.
All right.
Yeah, that's it.
We'll wrap it up here. This has been Comes Naturally. We have been
Joe.
I have been Cody, and as usual, you fuckers just came naturally.
Bye.